Have you ever felt completely lost in the life you're living? Like you're following a script written by somebody else, but not with your hands. This isn't the life that I want to live. I am not happy, and I don't feel people are understanding me or seeing me.
Hi, and welcome to The Secret of My Success, where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling life. I am your host, Erten. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel, and of course, please give it a like. Today, I am speaking with Burcu Onaranel. She is an international motivational speaker and a branding and marketing consultant who helps entrepreneurs build authentic brands. She blends coaching, branding, and mindset strategies to help people create a business and a life that aligns with their true selves. She also hosts the Coffee O'Clock podcast featuring global guests sharing insights on personal and professional growth. Enjoy the episode. Today, I am speaking with Burcu. Burcu, thank you so much for joining us on The Secret of My Success.
Thank you for having me, Erten.
It's a pleasure. So, you and I met through Facebook, through one of the podcast groups, and you've been running a podcast for a little while. And I think you and I do kind of similar things. We're sort of swimming in similar waters. So I'm really excited to hear more about your story and how you started doing what you do. At the beginning of the conversation, I ask my guests to get us started with a story or some point in their life where they had a paradigm shift or some kind of a change that got them to where you are today. So where would you like to start?
I would like to start asking the audience a question to think through the podcast. And that's how my story began. That's how I found my true self. The question is, have you ever felt completely lost in the life you're living? Like you're following a script written by somebody else, but not with your hands. So that's how I started to discover who I was, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to become years ago. So that's where we can go in this episode.
So let me make sure that I got that right. Following a script that was written by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That feels inauthentic. It feels uncomfortable, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. When I think about following a script that was not written for me, I can relate to it. Tell me a little bit about when you discovered you were living a script that was written by somebody else. How did you start to notice that something was off?
And that somebody exists most people's lives, by the way, because that somebody equals society. That was my part in my story. So I was following the social norms, the social happy life. We all know what that frame is: getting a great degree, then getting a job, guaranteed job, then getting married, having a child, and it just goes and on and on. And I was a human resources specialist back in 2013 until 2016. So in 2015, in the middle of 2015, I realized, even though I checked all the boxes that society teaches us, I was on the married stage. I was, people were expecting me to get married, but I didn't want to. And in my job, I did all the fancy stuff like delivering polished presentations and managing 350 people. I was a human resources specialist in an international company in Turkey. But I felt like this isn't the life that I want to live. I am not happy, and I don't feel people are understanding me or seeing me, seeing my true self, what I call authentic self. And what you said, it's not authentic by following a script written by someone else. Yes, it wasn't authentic. And I wanted to find out what's possible, not just for me, but everyone in the world, because we all seek for joy. Joy is the highest vibration everybody wants to reach. Everybody wants to be happy at the end of the day. So that's, I hope, answered your question a little bit.
Definitely. Oh, for sure. Definitely. It's funny because you mentioned everyone is seeking joy, and we all are. But the
Hmm.
problem is that, like, the marketing companies all understand the psychology behind, like, helping us find our joy. And so I feel like we're asleep and we're chasing ghosts. I
Hmm.
mean, that was my experience through much of my life, because I love what you say about society being the one to write the script. It's not like there's one person who's sitting in a room who's handing out these scripts going, well, this would really fit you. I think you might really enjoy this. It's more like, now the people are starting to wake up from this idea. Like 30, 40 years ago was everybody needs to go to college. If you don't go to college, well, now, like, plumbers and electricians and people who do trades, there are a lot fewer of them, because instead of focusing on what somebody might be good at or what somebody might be drawn to, we're all just kind of crammed onto this conveyor belt and told,
Hmm.
this is just the direction that you go. You need to have kids. You need to have a spouse. You need to have this. You need to have that. And it doesn't fit for so many of us. And so I love that you have this commitment to helping people understand this. How do you find, um, how do you help people start to see that? How do you communicate with that part of them?
It's not easy, first of all, and it wasn't easy for me as well. And when you feel lost, it's a great start to find something, because you have to lose it first, and then you're going to search and find it. So how do I help people? Is I'm an NLP master practitioner and a certified life coach. So I do coaching sessions, and in my sessions, I use Reiki. I'm also a Reiki healer. I love those things. I just can't help myself but learn more about it, because I just love human psychology and how we are living our life, why we do what we do. So, all about it. I got all those trainings, and in my sessions I walk my clients through a kind of a journey, sometimes a meditation, deep hypnosis, deep sessions, that they can truly tap into what they really want to do and what they stand for in this life. Because you might agree on this, and maybe your audience too, we are not humans having experience. We are spirits having a human experience. So when we know the difference, when we know we are beyond this human body and what we experience here, life is not going to be the same. So then you start living your life beyond everything around you. Then you start not following what others trying to manipulate you to do certain stuff. So,
Fair point. I think that like, I agree. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And when I started to really recognize that the person who was in front of me, arguing with me or disagreeing with me or getting in my way or interrupting my flow or whatever I thought it was, when I started to see them as just an expression of my own doubt, my own fear, my own misalignment, then it becomes more something to become, you get curious about it. Like there's space for me to be able to explore what's happening. I can get more curious, which opens up. We talk about human psychology. There are the different levels of the brain. The lizard brain is when we're in fear and we're locked down and we can't hear what's going on. The midbrain, it's a little bit more open, but you're still not like wide. But then
Mm-hmm.
when you get up into the cerebral cortex and you start getting into those higher vibrations and those greater levels, it's it feels more expansive. Just like
Mm-hmm.
if we stop and take a breath right now, it releases whatever little thoughts were going on in the background, and it causes us to open up to become more aware of what's going on, which is, it sounds contradictory for somebody who is so used to being in that driving, fear based, I have to get it done, I need to figure this out kind of a mindset. So, what about the person who, I mean, it's like I'm kind of getting visions of the Matrix, right? Like the Matrix movie, you're Neo, you're walking through life and you're thinking,
Love it.
there's this little something. Getting to a coach, someone who does NLP, who's someone who does Reiki, someone who's interested in all of these things, that's kind of like when you meet you are given the red pill versus the blue pill, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does somebody start to notice those little whispers? What are some ways you could suggest that somebody starts to find that off ramp to begin to look for somebody like you?
I love this question. And I had goosebumps because I just remembered how my journey started. Because, like I said, I was following the rules and I thought that was my dream. I thought becoming an HR manager was my dream because at the end of the day, I wanted to be the best in what I do. That's what I have been taught, especially from my dad. Whatever you do it the best. And when I got the job as an HR specialist, my goal was to become an HR manager and live it for the rest of my life. And when I learned everything in HR, I found myself, okay, if somebody offers me the HR seat, okay, here you go, I wouldn't take it. So that was a sign for me. Why do I not want something that I worked for my 24 years almost to get there, and why I don't want it? So, for somebody who needs to hear the whisper or feeling like they need a direction or they need a coach, if you don't look for it, that's the beauty of it. You don't have to look for it. Life brings it to you, like how it did to me. I learned everything in HR, everything happened for me. The colleague that I was working with had to go for pregnancy issue. So she couldn't be there to teach me everything. So I had to learn everything by myself. I had to manage 350 people working directly with the HR manager. And I learned everything I had to learn. And when I learned everything, there was nothing left for me to learn. And then society, my biggest lesson, my biggest push to leave that job and leave the country I lived in. So I have a very interesting example. It might sound like, oh, this is very odd, but that was a turning point for me. I still remember I love coffee, and that's why my podcast name is The Coffee O'Clock. And one morning in 2015, still it was 2015, I was in line to get my coffee, and I was smiling people around me and saying hi like how I always do. One senior colleague turned me and said, "What's wrong with you? How can you always smiling? You can't possibly be happy all the time." And of course, I wasn't as dominant as I am right now, or a speaker leader. I was a little shy, and based on his approach, I couldn't say anything to tell him. But that clicked something. I said, okay. When I walked back to my office, a whisper, something in my mind told me that I need to leave. And not just this job, but this country. I needed to go further, far away to find who I was, who I wanted to be. So it comes to you. And in of course there were so many other things happened, like from my friends, from my mom's friends, like who were trying to find me a potential spouse. There were so many stories that we don't need to get into. So that was the coffee example, was the final drop that made the glass overflow.
Mm.
And so to answer your question again is, those moments will come to you if you want to be happy, if you want to fulfill your soul purpose. It comes
Mhm.
to you. You don't have to do anything. It just comes to you, and you just know, okay, I can't take anymore. I need to do something.
Mm. That's really a powerful story, and there are a couple of points that you made, a few things that I'd like to circle back to, because one of the things that kept coming up for me is not everyone is meant to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the I heard, maybe it was a meme I saw or something that somebody shared with me. It's like, you might be a fairy and the people around you might be rocks. The rocks
Mm-hmm.
are wondering why you're being such a fairy, and you're wondering why the rocks are being rocks. It's like you're
Mm-hmm.
just not in alignment. And so the frustration is trying to really make someone other than what they are. So, it's not like, I mean, obviously it would be really great if the billions of people on the planet would all wake up and we could kumbaya and, live
Yes.
in hammocks on the beach or in the mountains or wherever you choose. But it's like, this is an evolution, and an evolution happens slowly over time. So it's not an expectation that everyone hears the whisper. And if somebody is listening to a podcast like this one or a podcast like yours, then chances are you have heard that whisper.
Mm-hmm.
So, pay attention to those little voices. The name of my enterprise is The Unmistakable Entrepreneur, and it's because for so many years I have heard this pull, this draw to teach, to coach, to guide, and I have let myself ignore that for so long, but it's an unmistakable calling. I can't get away from it.
Yeah,
It's
it comes
ridiculous for me to
back.
it's not going away. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it was really pivotal that you're standing in line. First of all, you're obviously a go-getter to be able to accomplish your career goal by 24. That is extraordinary. Let me just say, congratulations on that. And what I also see is that person standing in line with you saying, "Who are you to be so happy? What's your problem? Just like calm down, get back in line."
Mm-hmm.
That was society's way of saying, "No,
Mm-hmm.
that's not how we do things." What I love is your response. You were so tuned in to yourself, your authentic self, even if it was not very well defined at that point, tuned in enough to say, not only do I need to quit this job to change that environment, I need to leave my country to change that environment because culturally, it sounds like there's a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that idea of, if you had stayed in HR, you might have just gotten dulled to the point where you just became another one of them.
Yes, and I probably would have got married already and be miserable in my life, maybe get divorced afterwards. And I don't know, so many people living in that life because they just feel there's no other way to go. They just feel they are stuck in that cage and they just have to accept. But that's not how life is. Unfortunately, most of the places in for women, it's inevitable to do something. Sometimes they just have to stay, culturally or financially, whatever the situation is. But to me, that voice came that much stronger because I've filled with so much, how to say, like I really felt like in a cage. Mom's friends coming here, like, there's this person, you can meet. I was only 24, like I wasn't, 50, 60. I mean, even that time, there's no point that somebody has a responsibility to find someone for you. That's none of their business. But still, if you think like 24 years old is like a child, like why you're trying to find someone for them, and the person they find is almost 40 years old. I'm like, what is happening? And of course, my mom was not like those people, but their friends, I even hearing those sentences drove me crazy. And with my friends, they didn't believe like there is something else. Like I was always joyful or trying to be joyful, so I was too much in every space I was in. When I wanted to laugh out loud, I was too much. When I wanted to create something, I hit the corporate rules like, oh, we can't do those things, you're too much a dreamer. When I wanted to wear colorful things and do whatever I want, and then they said, no, you're doing recruitment and you can't wear those colors, they are not professional. And I like to use, this is so funny, but I like to use stars in my emails. At that time there was no emojis, and so I was using stars and smiley faces, and they were like corporate emails, but I wanted to add my joy into it. I didn't want to sound serious. And my boss warned me so many times, stars, like what are you doing, don't put those, it's not professional. And I'm like, what is professional? Like, what is, who said this? Who created those rules? So that's why it was like, okay. And I don't know your audience, maybe they're mostly from the US, but in my culture, in Turkey, I'm originally from Turkey, by the way. And in Turkey, so many people dream to go to US, dream to explore, but dream, not many people do it. So I was one of those dreamers. And when I had that moment, I was like, maybe I need to take this dream from the dusty shelf and think about it, because I am 24. If I really want to do something crazy like leaving my country and moving somewhere, potentially United States of America, this is the time. Because now I don't have any attachments. I have the money that I saved for 3 years in HR, and I have that crazy idea that I can go. Because right now I'm thinking, I am 34. Maybe I wouldn't move somewhere that I don't know anyone, don't have a job, and not speaking the language. I probably now wouldn't do it. But at 24, I was able to do it.
It's really amazing. Um, I I live in South Florida, and one of the benefits of living in South Florida is it's a very international place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have the opportunity, I'm blessed with the opportunity to meet people from all around the world in my own backyard. And I actually met someone from the Ukraine. She and I met at a weekend event, and we became really great friends. And recently she was sharing with me a similar experience. She was dating somebody from a Cuban family, and she and he liked to do a lot of traveling. And I don't remember if they went to the Ukraine or if it was another country sort of in that area. He's walking around, he's smiling, he's talking to people, and she's like, "Stop, don't do that. They don't do that here." It's like, you know, you're going to get us killed. Like, quit it. It really is culturally funny. For a little while, I lived in Minnesota, and Minnesota is a very friendly and rich place, but they've also all been living in the same town forever. And so they're not really acclimated to new people. It takes a long time for them to accept people into their circles. And if they travel to other places, it's a serious culture shock because they're used to being around the same families who've been there for generations and who've all done things in similar ways. And so I think what like that's a really amazing point. Also, generally speaking, the younger you are, the more daring you are. And it also, I don't know if you could have been contained. There would be a point where the lid blew off the pot at some point, even if
Probably.
you hadn't moved to the US at 24.
I believe so.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that aspect of, cultural fit, because I think one of the things that keeps people locked in, and I know this is something I've experienced in my life, is we have a family, we grow up in a particular culture, a particular area, and we're the black sheep. We're kind of the odd man out, right? Everybody looks at us a little funny when we go to holiday dinners. We're at the end of the table talking with the other weirdos. And, it's like people include us because they have to. And they want to love us, but they don't know why we won't behave. It's really challenging when this is your environment and you want to share your dreams with people, the conversations that you're hearing in your head, and they're looking at you sideways going, should we check you into someplace? Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
How would you recommend people try to get connected with someone who's a little bit more supportive? What guidance would you have for somebody?
First of all, you're gonna recognize those people around you. You have to cut this relationship because you can't grow from those negative energy. I remember one conversation I had with my friends. I was working in HR and we went for a beer, like, girls and boys, we were like mixed, and I was saying out loud, like, I want to be a motivational speaker one day and I want to have my own business, but I want to do it internationally. And they all laughed, and especially one of them laughed out loud, and he said, okay, really? You don't even speak English right now. How are you going to have a business and lead others in another language? And how is all gonna happen? Maybe you drank too much beer. So that was really heartbreaking at that time. Maybe right now, if somebody tells me, I wouldn't care, I don't care. But at that time, it was really heartbreaking for me. And if you are listening to this episode, and if you have those people around you, don't feel you're going to be the bad person to end the relationship, or don't feel you are lost. You are the black sheep, like Aaron said, it's true. And it's not that you are weirdo or you are lost in your life. You're just different and you need to do greater things than in general what people do. And I would say just find your tribe. And like you mentioned, you can meet so many people in your backyard, in your own place where you live. And if you can't meet those people, like I couldn't. And at that time, social media and everything was not this much of a deal. So I didn't know that I can follow someone and find an inspiration to do something. So I just did a basic research on what to do, and I found NLP training in the NLP trainer. So that was my first guide. That person was my first guide. And then it was just because you open up, the universe starts delivering you those situations, signs, and people on your way. So you just have to open up for what you want in your life, and the rest will happen. But the test is you need to let go of those who don't serve you, who is not related to what you want to do. So you have to cut those relationships. And sometimes they're your relatives. That's sad, but you have to do it if you really want to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't really keep drinking from the poisoned well and expect to get better, which is really powerful. And it's not that the people that you're around are bad or wrong. Again, they're rocks, you're a fairy.
Yes, yes.
It's like you're just of different minds. And I love what you say about when you open up, the universe will open up and respond. Sometimes it really does take a leap of faith. It might just be a tiny step in faith, and then you'll get a tiny response back to begin to build that confidence, that faith, that conviction, whether it's journaling or praying or just if you don't have somebody in your direct environment to have a conversation with, create the conversation with your higher self, with your higher power, with, social media is brilliant and there are still places where they don't have access. But if you do have any kind of access, get outside of what the algorithm is trying to cram down your throat. If you hear something in passing, like I know at the beginning of the pandemic, we it was like right at the start, I had been exposed to somebody who had COVID, so I had to be locked in my bedroom of my apartment with my two roommates like out in there, and I'm just totally locked away and miserable and la la la. And I remember I was scrolling through YouTube on a break, and I ran across this video from this person who basically said, their problems are not your problems. You can't save them. Let it go. I had never seen this person before. No idea how this video popped up in my feed. And I owe much of where I am now to that video.
Mm-hmm.
If you're seeking, it will come.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful example.
Yeah, it's really extraordinary. And the further along the path I walk, the more convinced I am that magic is real.
It is real. And I know maybe most people who are listening us will say, "Ah, really? Sure." Because I was one of those. I know exactly how they feel. I was feeling, "Ah, yeah, sure, I can change my life. Yeah, okay, sure." But if you start to open up, I will say that again, and have some sort of faith and pray and journal, do something, have some you time with yourself and find out what you like to do, what you want to do. Dreaming is free. You can dream, you can daydream, and then you can find what you really want and what you don't want. Sometimes what you dream is not what you really want, but the next day you get a little clear on what you want. And then things will start to pop up like mushrooms. Okay, this is good. This is good. I can do this.
I love the analogy of a garden. And it's like if the garden has been untended or things were just allowed to grow in whatever fashion, like from the time you're in the womb, you're receiving these messages from your environment, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like you can like the child can hear through the belly everything that's going on for the duration of the gestation. And then we're literally a sponge for the first 6 7 years of our life, not able to process whether we should or shouldn't keep whatever is coming at us. All of
Mm-hmm.
this stuff is going on. By the time you actually have developed, the brain is developed enough for you to become responsible for all of the stuff that's between your ears, there's a lot of cleaning up that needs to be done.
Yes,
There's a
a lot.
lot of weeding that gets to be done. There's a lot of deciding, do I like mangoes? Do I like strawberries? Do I like
Yep.
grapes? Like, do I want to keep this? Do I want to let this go? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not like either one of us is trying to say that this is a simple process or a quick process.
Mm-hmm.
And if I am taking the dandelion that I don't want and blowing the seeds all over the garden before I throw the stem out, then I'm not really doing myself any favors either. So it's being aware of the environment, it's being aware of what I'm allowing to propagate, and learning how to put my foot down when I do decide that something is not really what works for me or is healthy for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, how does somebody start to build those habits for themselves when maybe they can't just quit their job or fire their family? What would you recommend?
So easy. Having a hot drink, either coffee or tea. I always teach this to my clients, which is based on statistics and client results, that having a time just for you. This is very simple, but people don't do it. That is the problem. So people always postpone stuff that are good for them. Oh, I have to do this. I have to feed my child, or I have to go pick up this, or I have to do laundry. I have to clean this space first and then I do that. No. First thing in the morning, the very first thing that you have on your to-do list, endless to-do lists we all have, the first thing when you open your eyes is taking care of yourself. And
Mhm.
I am not a huge fan of having a framed morning routine that everybody talks about. People say, oh, wake up at 5 a.m. and drink this and work out and do that. Maybe that is your morning routine. Maybe that works for you. But if it doesn't, that's okay. If you don't do that, you're not a failure. So there are no rules in any case of this life. You create your own rules. So whatever works for you. But what I want you to do, want you to try, is very powerful. That works. That's why I always say, when you wake up, the first thing, without looking at your phone needs to be on airplane mode when you sleep, and needs to be another room. Like, that's something that we all need to do. If you're not doing that, then okay, let's say your phone rang and your alarm, come, and you just hit the stop button, and then don't ever look at your phone. Put it away. And if you have a Apple Watch or something, don't put it on because it will receive notifications. So nothing allowed. Don't talk to your spouse or kid or family member or your roommate. Don't talk to anyone. That's why I create that 5 to 10 minutes for you. If they wake up early as well, you wake up a little earlier to have that silent time. And then what you do, you just lock yourself in a room that nobody can disturb you, and no computer, no phone, nothing with you. Have a hot drink, whatever you like, coffee, water, lemon water, tea. The reason why the hot drink, I always say, is there's a study, maybe they did with people, hot drink and then cold drink. They drank both of them, two group of people in a different environment, And then the hot drink, the people who drank hot drink felt safer and warmer. They loved the environment more than people who drank cold water or whatever the drink is. Everything was the same, but the drinks were different and the groups were different. So this is just a nutshell of why hot drink. When you drink something hot, it's good for your stomach too in the morning, not super hot but warm, so you just feel comfortable. It makes you calmer, and then you slowly come back to life, because every night we sleep, we kind of die, and then in the morning we wake up again. It's just like a computer. I like to give this example as an NLP practitioner. I love to use it. We all have the phones, right? Smartphones. We have apps and we have computers that has a lot of applications. Our mind is just like a smartphone or a computer. We have those applications that are our beliefs, our memories, our thoughts, our plans, our emotions, and they are on a sleep mode too when you sleep. So when you wake up, think about your phone or your computer. Can you, like, when you hit the turn on button, does it come alive like in seconds? It takes a little, right? In these days it's quicker than before, but still it takes a while for you to use it efficiently. So why the moment we wake up we rush into things? We are not, our mind is not living yet. It needs to wake up. So you need to start your mornings slow with feeling what you feel, tapping into your body, your feelings. If you do meditation, that's great. But even if you sit with your hot drink in silence for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, one day is not going to change anything. So, consistency. If you want to lose weight, you have to go to the gym every day and take care of what you eat. This is the same. If you want to feel calmer and happier and find what you want in your life, you need to do this every day. If you can't do it in the morning, that is still okay. If you're working, find a space, find a place for you to do for 5 minutes at least, to just listen to yourself.
Well said. And I personally, what made the biggest difference for me in my life was I was introduced to the Miracle Morning, and it is one of those structured, you want to include da 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 da. But I set it up in such a way that it really fed my soul, not
Mm,
you have to XYZ. I out of the 6 different options, from journaling to meditating to exercise, I picked the ones that I felt really served me.
mhm,
And to this day, I have the first 2 or 3 hours of my day just for me. The first hour would be for meditation. The second hour might be journaling, reflection, chanting, whatever spiritual practices. And then I go and take a shower and get dressed and look at my agenda and see what's going on. And it really has created that space for me, not only just to kind of slide into the day and not turn, like you say, the nervous system isn't ready to go when you roll out of bed. Everyone knows the worst feeling in the world is to wake up and realize you are an hour late and you've got to jump up and just go. Like the rest of your day is like dominoes. It's horrible.
yes.
And it's just such an extraordinary thing. Plus, to your point, because the cache hasn't already started to fill with all of those preloaded concerns from yesterday, I'm better able to hear some of those whispers, my inner voice trying to give me these messages that something might be off. I need to take a look at a certain aspect that I've been frustrated by, or maybe I have a new view of a conversation I had yesterday. if I don't ever give myself that space to just breathe,
Mm-hmm.
then I can't hear what's actually going on. And I had never heard that study about the cold drink versus the warm drink. I think that's extraordinary. So I'm going to have to test that out because I think that that's pretty cool. That warm comfort, it's opening the blood vessels, it's opening the heart, it's opening the mind, it's opening the space. Just anything that you can do to open up areas that other people have told you not to go into necessarily, to create that safe environment, that little bubble for you to go and explore some of the kinds of things that you really want to talk about. I think that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Is there a final thought? Is there something that we've talked about that you really want to reiterate for people? Some message that you want to leave with the audience about anything in particular?
You have a one life, one story to live. Make it yours.
Well said. I love that. That's beautiful. Okay, fantastic. Well, Burcu, it has been amazing speaking with you today. I feel so fortunate to meet you, and I look forward to connecting with you online and listening to episodes of your podcast, Coffee O'Clock. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Erin, for having me. And thank you for being a guest on my podcast. It's been a pleasure to meet you as well.
It's a lot of fun. Okay, great. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been The Secret of My Success, where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling life. Again, I am your host, Erten Curran. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a like. And if you have not already, we'd love it if you'd subscribe. We'll see you next time.